If I can get board members up here, we'll get started.
Does that work?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
maybe we should guys should consider if people could waive in support like they do with the legislature. I mean, like if you're waiving in support of a bill.
What time?
Do you ever heard of that? When you're in the legislature, when they're having the reading of the bills, people waive in support.
I'll look into that.
Yeah, because then if they're here to support, they could just waive. You know how like at the Tallahassee?
If they're here in support, then it should be on consent.
Right, but we have
Can only take the objections
agreed,
anyway.
but they're still
Yeah, that's
signing
right.
up.
Sign it off.
If they're in support,
If they,
we'll go
but
like
sometimes
that.
they sign up anyway.
Yeah, but we
what
take
he
care of that.
says is,
I hear
If
you.
you're
I'm just,
objecting.
it's
Yeah,
a
I always-
recommendation.
Always ask it that way. I'd like now to call back to order the Board of County Commission meeting of April 10th, 2024 for a public hearing. The first public hearing is P39.
Mr. Chair, I have publication.
Okay,
Item P39 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on January 24th, 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item P39 is an ordinance by the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners amending the Pasco County Land Development Code, Chapter 500 Zoning Standards, Section 525 Neighborhood Commercial District, Chapter 900 Development Standards, Section 907 On-Site Parking, Loading, Stacking, and Lighting Standards, Section 907.1 On-Site Parking, Appendix A Definitions, and other sections as necessary for internal consistency, providing for applicability, repealer, providing for severability, inclusion into the Land Development Code, and an effective date. This is being requested for a continuance to a date uncertain.
okay. I need a motion.
Move to continue?
Continuance.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
With her absent, do I need to do roll call or not? Nope.
no,
Okay, we got a quorum.
And everybody's physically
All right.
present. That's,
Move on to P4.
but for continuance, you don't need it for an ordinance. So
Oh, you don't need it for, okay,
you're fine.
all right. P40.
Item P40 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on February 21st, 2024, and by affidavit of certified mailings and site postings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item P40 is an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing
Pull that
for-
mic over to you, if you will.
providing, I don't know what's picking up today.
Yeah,
Providing for a comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map, map 2-15 in sheet 01, from Res 6, residential 6 dwelling units per gross acre, to COM, commercial, on approximately 3.49 acres of real property located on the east side of US Highway 301, approximately 750 feet south of US 98, and providing for additional text amendments as necessary for internal consistency, providing for repealer, severability, and an effective date. This comes to you with a recommendation to approve the proposed comprehensive plan amendment, adopt the ordinance by roll call vote. We can do a presentation if the board would like.
okay, would the board like to hear a presentation?
I'm okay.
Hmm?
I'm good.
Good? So this public hearing is in, we have someone to speak to this, is that, I asked for public?
Yeah, well, this
ordinance.
would be an applicant presentation, so, or there should be an applicant for this one. It's not county initiated, so you call the applicant first and then any members.
Okay. All right, if the applicant would like to come forward? Name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. Ann Pollock, 433 Central Avenue in St. Pete, representing the applicant. We're here today requesting this comprehensive plan amendment. The owner owns a small HVAC business here in the county and would like to open up a small retail center to sell parts and do repairs. He'd like to use the remainder to lease out the spaces to other small businesses, small trades, neighborhood commercial, office, and that sort. We feel that the application is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The intent of the COM designation is to encourage job-creating uses. Mr. Finley expects, he has about 4 employees now. He expects to have at least another 6 to run this business. And with the addition of the other spaces, we expect more jobs to come in to this area. The area is surrounded by pastures and residential, as well as significant commercial. To the north is 98, which has shops and other businesses, including used car and open storage and other small businesses. This will allow for an improved development in the area while more fully satisfying the commercial and business needs of the surrounding residents. The applicant is working to work with the neighbor to modify the access to the north so that we're not intruding with the neighbor's access to get out onto 301. And the owner plans to build fencing and buffering on the rear, including stormwater and that sort, in order to provide a good buffer. The issue that I wanted to raise today is that as part of this application, Planning Commission staff, long-range planning staff, requested that we voluntarily agree to a deed restriction limiting uses and providing some other development restrictions, as well as the Live Local Act deed restriction. The applicant volunteered to comply. Those uses are not planned to be used here, but certainly agreed in order to gain the staff support and the county's support of this. This was presented at the Planning Commission on this matter. We are also going through a contemporaneous rezoning request to C2. And we had our Planning Commission meeting last week, and at the Planning Commission unanimously voted to recommend approval of the rezoning, but without the deed restrictions, other than Live Local. They kept that. Feeling that it was inappropriate and unnecessary to include the deed restrictions for this owner in order to comply with the requirements of the code and the appropriateness of the commercial use going forward. I don't think that long-range planning staff thinks that, I do think commercial is, long-range planning staff thinks commercial is an appropriate use for this property, but I did want to raise the issue with regard to the deed restrictions, and we're of course at the board's pleasure regarding that, but I wanted to make you aware of what sort of the chronology of what had happened with those deed restrictions. And with that, I'm
Are
here
there
for any
deed restrictions on this property?
I'm sorry?
There are deed restrictions on this property?
There would be as part of these approvals. To
Ones
what-
that were agreed with staff?
I have some questions for staff
Okay.
about the
Okay.
deed restrictions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Staff, let staff come back up. That's up at La Coochie. Okay. All right, Terry, some
Terry.
questions.
So
Terry,
my
for-
questions were,
Wait a minute.
If I can ask Terry, which, is the companion rezoning on this
It is not
hearing?
on this agenda.
So this wouldn't even be an appropriate, the board can have the
Okay.
discussion, but this is a zoning issue, not a comp plan issue.
That's correct.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
well, what does that mean
You
as
can,
far?
you can ask your question, but the issue of the deed restrictions and what planning commission recommendation is would be an issue that you would,
Take up next.
the applicant implied that they had a companion rezoning, which usually means it's on the same agenda. It's not. So that'll be back before you
Okay,
at some
this is
point
the
in the
comp
future.
plan, not
This
the
is the
rezoning.
comp plan.
Okay, I think you had
Yeah.
that, said
Okay.
that differently. All right, well, then I have plenty of time to ask you about the restrictions. So I won't bother to be.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Is anyone in the audience here, this is a public hearing, is anyone in the audience here to speak to this item?
I have no one signed up and no one on WebEx for this
Okay.
item.
All right,
No one
pleasure of the board.
Move approval?
Move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Whoop.
This you do need a roll call vote because it's an ordinance.
Oh, I need a roll call vote. Thank you.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Do you mind if I ask a question real quick? And I didn't hear it. Is there a multi-use path going up this side of this road?
Little piece of property.
Did they talk about that? Or does that? And maybe this isn't the place to ask that question.
This road's being redone. It's
Yeah,
98.
there's
state
existing pedestrian infrastructure along the frontage. There's a sidewalk, my understanding. But as you can see from the map on the overhead, there are a number of trails that are crisscrossing the area that are not yet fully reached into the southern parts of the Wakuchi.
So, but we would talk about that at the rezoning, not at this,
Well,
making sure there's a reservation.
the
for-
rezoning would be a Euclidean rezoning, so the C2 zoning. So we would not be able to condition them on that rezoning, but there would be discussions about that when they submit for site plans, any kind of connectivity. But they're only a small portion of the 301 frontage, so it's not a 3-acre site, so it's not a major project. That
Yeah,
would-
I just want to make sure that they know there's probably a multi-use path coming on one side of that
We
road
had
that
that
will need to be
conversation.
accommodated.
That conversation will come up later.
He said that we couldn't bring it up later.
It won't be in your rezoning, but they will have that discussion in the site plan stage.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay. So I got a motion and a second by
Aye.
roll call vote.
I'm going to redo it. District
Okay.
2,
Stay
Commissioner
the same.
Waitman. District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford. District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 1, Chairman Oakley.
Aye. Motion passed 4-0. Move on to P41.
Item P41 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on March 6, 2024.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Denise Hernandez, Planning and Economic Growth Department. Today we're going to go over item P41, which is Amendment 68 to the Land Development Code. Today is the first reading on the item. It is scheduled for adoption on April 23rd, 2024 at 1:30 in Newport Richey. So I'm going to read the title and I'm going to do a presentation on the item. This is an ordinance by the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners amending the Pasco County Land Development Code, Section 304.1, types of public notice, Table 304-1, required public notice for development approval applications, Section 402.1B, zoning amendments Euclidean, submittal requirements, Section 404.3D, mining operating permits, application requirements, Section 404.4D, construction, demolition, debris disposal facility operating permits, application requirements, Section 404.6C, yard trash processing facilities, application requirements, Section 406.1.6, permanent signs exempt from obtaining sign permits and temporary signs, Section 406.5.D, right-of-way use permit, application requirements, Section 406.8.D, garden plan permits, application requirements, Section 511.6, RMH mobile home district, yard regulations, Section 511.8, RMH mobile home district, streets and roads, Section 803.2, listed species, impacts to listed and protected species, Section 901.3.E, access management analysis, traffic impact study, Section 901.3, access management, sample problem number 1, Appendix A definitions and other sections as necessary for internal consistency, providing for applicability, repealer, for providing for severability, inclusion into land development code, and effective date. So as stated, this is Land Development Code Amendment 68. These amendments were previewed by the horizontal roundtable interested parties on February 21st, 2024. At that time, they were placed also on the Pasco County website so they could take a look at them. They were presented to the horizontal roundtable and interested parties meeting on March 20th, 2024. And this went to the local planning agency on March 21st, 2024, who found it consistent with a comprehensive plan and recommended approval to the board. So we're going to start by Chapter 300 Procedures, Section 304.1 Types of Public Notice. Again, I should mention that these are what we consider minor amendments. They're basically to handle some legacy issues. So in this case, in that section, we're removing developments of regional impact, as there will never be a new application for a development of regional impact. We're also removing DRI substantial amendment NOPC, removing DRI non-substantial amendment NOPC, and NOPC from the development order amendment. Also, it adds a line for county-initiated comp plan amendments to conservation, to be published only, and county-initiated comp plan amendments other than to be published and posted only. The next section is Section 402.1, zoning amendments Euclidean, It removes the requirement to submit a wetland delineation. That is way too early in the process to be submitting a wetland delineation. We still do a distribution to Natural Resources, who provides comments, but the wetland delineation would be submitted at time of site plan. Next section is 404.3 mining operating permits, application requirements. You're going to see this quite a bit throughout. We removed traffic impact study, as there's no requirement for traffic impact study in our code. That was removed many, many years ago, and we're replacing it with timing and phasing analysis pursuant to section 901.12.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Denise, explain the difference between the two.
So perhaps my colleague David Goldstein might be able to talk about this in a better way than I would. Because we eliminated, this is part of eliminating concurrency years ago. So there is, traffic impact studies doesn't exist. The section that traffic impact study was under, which is 905, was actually removed from, it's actually a reserved section, so it's no longer in the land development code. So timing and phasing analysis took over what a traffic impact study would have done. And we may also have subject matter expert colleagues on the WebEx to answer the question as well.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, as well, on section 511.8 height regulations.
I haven't gotten to that yet.
I'll look into that.
Yeah, just give me a few minutes. So I'm going to move on, and whoever that's on, because this is going to come up a few times. So whoever's on here who can explain the difference between traffic impact study and timing and phasing analysis, if you would please chime in, I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
So again, this is again in 404.4, construction and demolition debris disposal facilities. Again, strikes traffic impact study, doesn't exist, replaces it with timing and phasing. Same in 404.6, yard trash processing facility, replaces traffic impact study with timing and phasing. This next section, this is a mistake that we made when and I take responsibility for it, when we did the sign section, that we should have not put window signs and sandwich signs together with signs that have limitations, because obviously window signs are there as there is a promotion, and that could be more than 15 days, more than that. And the sandwich style signs that people put outside of their business, that's also something that people move in and out throughout the day or after the store is closed. This is again 406.5 right-of-way use permits, removes traffic impact study and replaces it with timing and phasing. Same in 406.8 garden plan permits.
Mr.
So this
Chairman?
is getting to this next section that Commissioner Mariano was asking about.
All right, can we just go
The
back to the
height.
previous slide?
Go back a slide.
Just one slide, yeah. So on the temporary signs, I had a request from a realtor, and I know we allowed signs in yards for real estate signs to go on, but I had a recent request from this person who's sometimes trying to sell a home. They want to put it on a busier road to direct them in to see a home. A lot of times they're doing it anyway. Different realtors,
They do
open
it on
house.
weekends, like open house.
Exactly.
I know.
So,
Yeah.
do we want to allow that as long as they pick up the sign? Because most of them pick up the sign anyway, because they're not going to waste the money on the sign to just direct them. Do we want to allow that so that they don't feel that they're breaking the law?
Is that written in?
That's considered an off-site sign, and also it's a sign in the right-of-way, and those two things are prohibited in our code.
Yeah.
The only off-site signs that are prohibited in our code are billboard signs, and those, that you'll never see a new billboard sign.
Thank you.
Okay.
No
So-
more.
You'll see conversions, but you won't see a new one.
Right, so again, knowing it's a violation,
I think they
know it's a
found that
violation.
Yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure you want to open that door, but I don't know that any realtor open house sign on the weekend's ever been ticketed.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, going to 511 RMH Mobile Home District, coverage regulations and height regulations. So this section of the code was actually silent on the maximum building height, and also silent on lot coverage. So what we did to make it similar to our most dense zoning district, we added that lot coverage is a maximum of 65%. And we also added, similarly to the change that we made a few years ago for residential districts. So if you're doing a detached modular, factory-built modular, or site-built on RMH, the maximum height is 45 feet. It's consistent with all the other maximum heights. And then for mobiles and manufactured homes, we made that 15 feet. I did consult with my colleagues in BCS. They had suggested 10 feet, but I just made it a little bit more open to 15 feet, and that's only for mobiles and manufactured homes. All the other dwellings would be 45 feet. Okay, so this next section, 803.2A, impacts to listed species, removes the mention of developments of regional impacts. We won't have any new developments of regional impact, and also clarifies that zoning amendments to MPUD are the ones that require a preliminary habitat assessment. This next section, again, removes traffic impact study and removes the mention of traffic impact study in the reference in the sample problem number 1 in that section 901.3.E. And then in Appendix A definitions, we modify the definitions of window signs and temporary signs. And this is just showing the strike-through sections in case you wanted to look at any of them specifically. And again, this is, if you would just please take public comment. And there's no action by the board required today. This is scheduled for adoption on April 24, 2024 at 1:30 in Newport Richey. And I'm here for any questions that you may have.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Sonia, can you put up the pictures of the water tower? Over in Beacon Woods a while ago, there was a water tower that was a real eyesore when Kmart went out of business years ago. It deteriorated over time. When U-Haul came in, they inquired about being able to put a sign up. They were going to try to work with Florida Sports Coast, maybe Pasco County, do something nice in addition to the sign. Do you have the pre-signs where it showed this lousy condition?
Has it been recently painted? Or
Yeah, it's been recently painted now, but I think we had some pictures sent over that showed graffiti on it down below. It showed even stuff above. People were climbing up that thing.
that
and they made
provides water for the community here?
No, it just is just a remnant piece. It's a remnant piece. I don't think it has any value or any use as far as working. So they were contemplating tearing it down or not. They thought that they could do something good if they painted it. So they, I think, spent probably over $300,000 to go paint it. Then they go through the process, not understanding what might happen. They go through the process, and because our code doesn't allow for this, and because of the height of it, they don't allow it to happen. And I'm just wondering if we can take a look at maybe somehow allowing them to do something, it's some type of approval process through us, because, again, they spend a lot of money on the sign, I mean, on the water tower to make it look really good for the community, thinking they could put a sign up there that would be a little bit of U-Haul, but something else for the county as well. And I'm just wondering if we want to take a look at, relook at that and add that into this to allow something to happen to bring it back to the board.
So how much did it cost to paint it?
About $320,000.
How much?
One of the prices was $320,000 to paint it. So remember, you had to treat it, clean it, you get the heights involved.
Yeah.
So, and it looked absolutely terrible. I had many emails and phone calls from my residents coming out asking to do something. Whenever it got painted, everybody was happy, and then these guys have to spend all the money. We're like,
Who spent the money for $320,000 for
the U-Haul place. So, I mean, they renovated, they put landscaping in, they dressed the whole place up.
Well, that,
What's the problem? 'Cause
Right now, they have a water tower that was there.
they want to use it
That
for a
was in
sign.
terrible shape. They had a lot of complaints on it. They looked at what to do. They thought they'd be able to work with us to go do something to make it look better for advertising for them as well as for us. And after they painted it, they were then told by staff, no, you can't do anything.
Yeah, that's a billboard, water tower billboard.
It's on site, so it's not, it's
That's
not considered a
absolutely
billboard,
non-conforming.
but it is, but it exceeds, you are correct, it
Yeah.
exceeds.
Where's the
maximum-
landscaping?
Yeah, but I mean, it's
Seems,
not
maximum
non-conforming.
height.
Wasn't this place required to
Maximum
put in
height and square
landscaping?
footage.
Oh, gotcha.
This is an
They have,
abandoned.
it's been
water
landscaped.
tower.
This is just an old simulated picture of what they're
Oh,
looking to do at
simulated.
campsites.
Okay, okay.
Since then, they put palm
Where's
trees
my eyes
in
to
it.
look at it?
All sorts of nice, it looks a lot better now. But again, as it deteriorated, the reason they said they couldn't do anything was the tower exceeds the height and size of the county's land development code sign regulations.
Yeah.
So now's the time if we're going to have to take a look at changing it. I forgot to bring up the change. I think we should.
No. Drive up into Georgia and take a look at what they did to their sky. They got all the scrap up there. You can see it for miles. I'm not okay with doing that. I mean,
There's a, all right, so there's
it's
a
okay to
picture of what they're
paint
doing.
it. I mean, I think they should be required to maintain it and not let it be in disrepair. Is that used, that tower?
There's
It's
no-
not, it's abandoned.
No
There's
use
no
for
Why
it.
don't we require them to take it down?
Probably should be taken
It
down.
should be taken down. That could be a dangerous thing for the neighborhood
Did
if
they
the
check-
metal is not being painted and maintained.
Have they checked it out to see if it's a safe structure?
I'm sure they found it to be safe. I mean, water towers are all over this state, and a lot of them have nice things on it, say like, welcome to so-and-so, or say Bradenton, they say all sorts of nice things that could be on that thing.
They
to
could
make it
paint
look good.
flowers on there or trees, but
I don't know.
not advertising in the sky like that. But I personally worry that, is that what it looks like now?
No, that's what it looked like before. They painted it now.
Okay.
It now looks
What
shiny,
you're
shiny
saying
white.
now, it's
I just think,
it's been painted.
I think it should come down, personally.
So
Is that part of
we
this
don't
ordinance?
allow that to have signs on it, so I mean, it's been painted. Do we have something in our code that requires that since it's not in use, that it should be taken down?
We do for our cell
I am not
towers.
sure it's not being used for a water tower, so I just don't understand what the, the use of it is. So, I mean, I think we discussed this a couple of years ago, that it should be demolished.
They could sell it, the metal for scrap, make some money.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
Well, Chair,
Go ahead.
thanks,
Mr.
Chair.
Wade.
Oh, I just have a Joe Diffie song just play, and I'll rewind through my head talking about this water tower.
A what?
The Joe Diffie song,
I don't know.
John Deere Green, it's worth a listen to after this conversation. I'm not looking for making a code that's gonna require this company to spend, to force the company to spend money to take a tower down if they don't have to, or really, they've all decided it's on there, but I'm not looking to make the code to where they have to have an unnecessary expense. I don't know what that answer is, but being forced to tear it down if they're not ready to, or the funds aren't there for whatever period of time, I'm not opposed to them cleaning it up. We don't have an awful lot of water towers running around Pasco County like this. I'm not necessarily opposed to what Commissioner Mariano's saying, but I just don't want to create the code that creates an additional expense on this business. They bought property, they've done a great job cleaning it up. They took a blighted building, right, and they turned it into something, so there's significant investment made there. Yeah, just a business-friendly decision is all I'm getting at.
I mean, it should come down if it's in disrepair.
It's not.
If it's not, then it's fine.
If it's a hazard,
Yeah.
take a look at it, but if it's not a hazard and it's okay, then I think.
Well, it's just recently been painted, right?
It was painted probably about a year ago.
A year ago, okay. But I wouldn't change our sign rules to make that a sign.
Well, think about it, you might have a thing on there, it could be say, welcome to Florida Sports Coast, welcome to Pasco County, on the top part of it, to incorporate what they want to try to get a little bit of.
Well, then I
publicity.
would think we would need to have someone in our,
Then it becomes a billboard.
yeah, then it becomes a billboard, but fact of it is, it's not in our code now, we don't need to make one where we're going to end up more of these around the county that,
Oh, I don't think I was going to build water towers anyway.
yeah. So,
We got a lot. We got to keep.
okay, we get it.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is the first reading, we don't
It is,
have
it's
any
a first
vote?
reading. So if
Yeah.
you just, take public comment.
Okay,
And Mr. Chair, we do not have anyone signed up and no one on WebEx.
okay.
But you want to make a
No
call?
one's there. Does anybody here wish to speak to this item? If so, come forward. Seeing no one. This was the first reading, so nothing else for us to do on it.
Yeah, set for adoption on April 23rd, 2024 at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
Okay.
Thank you.
So at this time, Mr. Feinstein, would you go through procedures on public hearings?
Be happy to, Mr. Chairman. There are two rezoning agendas, regular and consent. Staff will present each application to the Board of County Commissioners. If staff or Planning Commission recommended approval and there is no opposition, the application will be considered by the board without further presentation. if staff or planning commission has recommended denial, or if there is opposition to the application, the applicant will be given 5 minutes for presentation, the opposition will be given 3 minutes for each individual or 5 minutes for a group representative, and the applicant will be given 3 minutes for rebuttal. Any individual disagreeing with staff or planning commission recommendation or anyone wishing to object to any condition of the rezoning may at this time request the petition be pulled from the consent agenda, in which case that application will be heard under the regular agenda later on during the meeting. Otherwise, all rezoning applications on the consent agenda will be approved by a single motion and vote. If you wish to speak to any petition, please give your name and address and whether or not you've been sworn for the record. These are quasi-judicial public hearings. The law in Florida is that mere public support or opposition of an application is insufficient for this board to take action. Please limit your comments to those criteria found within the board's land development codes. Madam Clerk, would you like to swear the public in?
Yes. If you're here to speak on any of the items in the afternoon, please stand and raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God? Thank you. You may be seated.
All right. We'll move on to P42.
Item P42 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on February 21st, 2024.
Item P42 is PEG 247639. It's a zoning amendment, Timber Ridge MPUD Master Plan Unit Development, Timber Ridge Dade City LLC. The request is to continue the item to the May 7th, 2024 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Dade City.
Move to continue time certain.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Move on to,
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted you to know, the public to know, I will not be at that meeting. I'll be at my NACO Board of Directors meeting. So, no one can get sick.
well, I'm
We won't have a
sorry.
meeting.
I'm sorry, but I proved that wrong. All right, move on to P43.
Item P43 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on February 21st, 2024, and by affidavit of certified mailings and site postings.
Item P43 is PEG 247683, zoning amendment, Crossways MPUD, Crossways 301 LLC. The request is to continue the item to a date uncertain.
Move to continue to a date uncertain.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 4-0. Move on to P44.
Item P44 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on February 21st, 2024.
P44 is PEG 247702, zoning amendment, Anclote River Resort MPUD Master Plan Unit Development. The request is to continue the item to the April 23rd, 2024 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
I have a question on this. Why is this even here? This is a West Side issue.
I believe it had been continued to this date. So that, I believe that's the answer to that, that it had
so
been
this is a
continued to this
mistake.
date, so we're now continuing it to the 23rd.
Okay.
Quick question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
So this is still continuing forward?
I'm sorry?
This is the camp, this is the fish
Separate
camp.
thing? Okay.
not-
Yes,
yeah.
it's incorporating some acreage into that area, into the
Okay.
MPUD.
Move to continue time certain.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed 4-0. Move on to P45.
Item P45 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on March 6, 2024.
P45 is PEG 247712, zoning amendment, KD 52 MPUD Master Plan Unit Development, Lanco Liquidating Company LLC and others. The request is to continue the item to the May 7th, 2024 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Dade City.
Move to continue time certain.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 4-0. Move on to P46.
Item P46 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on March 20, 2024.
P46 is PEG 247726, zoning amendment, the name of Cherry Hills West MPD Master Plan Unit Development, Veterans of Foreign Wars of U.S. Major Francis E. Dade, Post 4283 and others. The request is to continue the item to the May 7th, 2024 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Dade City.
Move to continue time certain.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passed 4-0. Move on to P47.
Item P47 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on November 22nd, 2023. The item was continued from the January 9th, 2024 BCC meeting to the February 20th, 2024 BCC meeting, where it was continued to today.
Item P47 is PEG 247737. It's a zoning amendment in the name of Orange State MPUD, Master Plan Unit Development, Orange State Enterprises, Inc. The request is to continue the item to the May 7th, 2024 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Dade City.
Move to continue time certain.
Got a motion and a second to be continued. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passed 4-0. Move on to P48.
Item P48 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on February 21st, 2024.
Item P48 is PEG 247775. It's a zoning amendment, the names of Thomas Lee and Kimberly Ann Samanek. The request is to continue the item to the April 23rd, 2024 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
Move to continue time certain.
Motion and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Mr.
Motion
Chair, can
passed
we move on to
4-0.
P56, please?
Okay. P56.
Item P56 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on February 21st, 2024.
Excuse me. Item P56 is PEG 247718. It's a zoning amendment in the name of Circle K at New State Road 52 in Prospect, MPUD, Steam Fruit LLC. It's for a rezoning from an AR agricultural residential district to an MPUD to allow for 11,330 square feet of non-residential entitlements on approximately 3.63 acres. The request is to continue the item to the April 23rd, 2024 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richey. If you would please call for public comment because it was not advertised as a continuance. On this item, there have been ex parte communications with Commissioner Mariano and Commissioner Waitman, and those have been submitted to the clerk's office, but to the extent that they have not, they will be after today's meeting.
Yes, sir.
Chair, the niece, I know David Engel, take one last look. The Washington Planning Commission, and after public comment, I think it's time to elevate this decision up to our level and bring this thing in for a landing.
What is this?
David Engel, Planning and Economic Growth Director. Thank you, Commissioner Waitman. We asked the applicant to come in and do some refinement and tweaking regarding their landscaping and some of the pump orientation, and we feel confident we'll have a resolution and be back on the 23rd with a consent agenda item.
Doug, appreciate the thoroughness
Thank
this
you.
time.
I did want to say, I had a meeting with them, so I should be on the ex parte. There should be an ex parte with me too.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Starkey. We'll get that from your legislative aid, but thank you that it's on the record. Thank you.
And for the record, I've met with them twice.
I don't remember how many times.
Yeah,
One second.
once or twice, yeah. We've all met with them, so,
Okay, thank you. So
Okay.
we'll look for yours, Commissioner Oakley, as well. Thank you so much for letting us know.
okay. So I need a motion?
No, Mr. Chairman, if you would
public
call for
comment.
public comment
Okay.
for anyone who cannot be at the April 23rd Board of County Commissioners hearing at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
Is there anyone here who wishes to speak to this item that cannot be at the continued meeting time?
Mr. Chair, I have no one signed up, and no one on WebEx for this item.
Move to continue time certain.
Second.
So I got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passed 4-0. We'll go next, 57. Is that,
P57.
okay?
Item P57 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on March 20th, 2024, and August 23rd, 2023, and by affidavits of certified mailings and site postings. This item was continued from the October 10th, 2023 BCC meeting to the November 14th, 2023 BCC meeting. It was then continued to the January 9th, 2024 BCC meeting, where it was continued to today.
Thank you. Item P57 is PEG 24CU02. There have been 15 ex parte communications with all commissioners since April 8th, So they did not make the agenda packet. Those have been provided to the clerk's office. Additionally, there's ex partes with Commissioner Starkey, Commissioner Mariano, Commissioner Oakley, and Commissioner Waitman, and those have also been submitted to the clerk's office as well. And that item is PG 24CU02, Pasco Land and Cattle Company LLC, Skyway Towers, Verizon Wireless for a 155-foot above ground level monopine wireless communication facility in an AR1 agricultural residential district. The request is to continue the item to the June 4th, 2024 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Dade City. And if you would please take public comment on the continuance request.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure that there's need to take public comment on this one because it was supposed to have been a closed public hearing. However, this is the one I discussed in public comment this morning. I would strongly advise that this be re-advertised and that you have a full public hearing on it based on the ex parte communications that occurred after the public hearing was closed. So I think just a motion to continue would be fine for this one.
Move to continue
Mr.
time
Mariano?
certain.
And
The attorney answered my question pretty much, so.
Oh, okay, all right. So, I got a motion and a second to continue.
and that's being continued till,
June 4th, 2024 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Dade City.
thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passed 4-0. Okay, now we go where?
58?
We're doing 58?
Yes,
Are we going to
Okay.
continue this?
We are.
we are going to continue it.
Item P58 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on March 13th, 2024. The item was continued from March 26th, 2024 BCC meeting to today.
So item P58 is CAO 3501, sorry. It says resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida pursuant to section 196.19783 Florida statutes electing not to exempt property under section 196.19783D 1.A Florida statutes commonly known as the Live Local Act property tax exemption. The request is to continue the item to the May 7, 2024 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Dade City. And the reason for that is because, as I understand that the governor has not signed the bill into law yet.
Move to continue time certain.
Got a motion?
So move to,
I got a motion,
yeah.
second.
Oh, second, sorry.
Okay.
I
Got a
was seeing what
motion,
those
second.
little things
All those
were
in
up there.
favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed 4-0. Now,
We're going to go back to P49.
go back to P49.
Yes.
Okay.
So item P49 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on November 1st, 2023. The item was continued from the January 9th, 2024 BCC meeting to February 6th, 2024 BCC meeting. It was then continued to March 12th, 2024 BCC meeting, where it was continued to today.
All right, item P49, that one we have ex partes for with Commissioner Oakley and Commissioner Waitman, and to the extent that they have not made it to the clerk's office, we will get those over to the clerk's office. So that is item PEG 247708, it's a zoning amendment, St. Leo Commons, VOPH MPUD, RDPD 5 LLC, a rezoning request from AC Agricultural District to an MPUD Master Plan Unit Development to allow for 796 dwelling units and 75,000 square feet of non-residential uses on approximately 101 acres. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions as included in your agenda packet from both the Pasadena Hills Planning and Policy Committee and the Planning and Economic Growth Department. There is a specific condition related to the Live Local Act, and that is condition number 80 in your conditions of approval.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I met with them as well.
That's for the clerk.
So there should be an ex parte for me. I'm checking with my staff why these aren't going in.
I would think you would have been talked to about it.
So Commissioners, I know you're in the middle of a public hearing, but if it's okay with you, would you please ask for your legislative staff or team to please send all the ex partes over my way because then I will forward them to the appropriate team members.
Yeah.
Thank
The
you so
reason you're
much.
talking about that today is because you're not getting them?
Well, there have been 2 so far that it appears that I have not
Yeah,
received.
I know
so-
I met with.
Yeah, that's
I know
kind
a
of
while
strange,
ago,
because
but-
I've been there 8 years, we've been sending those out.
Thank you.
I've met with them as well.
Yeah. So it's strange, but we'll check with our assistants to make sure that's done. Okay, this is a public hearing.
This is not the consent item. I do not have anyone signed up for this item, and no one is on WebEx for this item.
Oh, okay. So is anyone here to speak against this item?
Well, I'd like a presentation.
Do what now?
She wants it pulled off the consent agenda and wants a presentation.
Okay. Pull P49 off. We'll come back to it. Go to
What's
P50.
going on with these little things up here?
She's a court reporter. She was recording.
That was recording.
Well,
Court
why is she
reporter.
recording that one?
She's just taking her stuff.
She
back
was
down.
here for another item.
It was on P57, I think.
Okay. I thought she came and got,
Yep.
She got part of it.
She got her part, so.
Item P50 was published in Tampa Bay Times on February 21st, 2024, and by affidavit of certified mailings and site postings.
Item P50 is PEG 247743. It's a zoning amendment. Serene Preserve MPUD Master Plan Unit Development, EC Willow Bend LLC. It's for a rezoning from an ER Estate Residential District to an MPUD Master Plan Unit Development District to allow the development of 37 single-family detached homes on approximately 26.6 acres. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions as included in your agenda packet from the Planning and Economic Growth Department and from the Planning Commission.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public wish to speak against this item?
I have no one signed up and no one on WebEx.
Okay. Let it remain on consent. Move to P51.
Item P51 was published in Tampa Bay Times on February 21st, 2024, and by affidavit of certified mailings and site postings.
Item P51 is PEG 247760, zoning amendment, New Clinton LLC. It's for a change in zoning from an AC agricultural district and R2 low-density residential district to an MF1 multiple family medium density district with a voluntarily agreed upon deed restriction to limit the use to a total of 105 townhomes. And also it's actually incorporating the items that may be incorporated into a Euclidean zoning in a deed restriction for PM 26. Those have all been incorporated into the voluntarily agreed upon deed restriction. On this item, there are ex parte communications with Commissioner Mariano, Commissioner Starkey, and Commissioner Waitman. This comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Pasadena Hills Planning and Policy Committee and from the Planning and Economic Growth Department.
Okay. Is there anyone, this public hearing, is there anyone here to speak against this item?
I have no one signed up and no one on WebEx for this item.
And I see no one coming forward, so leave it on consent.
I have I'm sorry. I have a quick question for this applicant and actually for the one before it, P50, so can't keep it on consent, sorry.
Well,
But they won't be long questions.
you are, I understand, but the fact of it is, these are all on consent because there's
Yeah.
no opposition to them.
Right.
And that's
but I
why
just
they're on
wanna-
consent.
Right, but I have a very quick
But
question.
it seems like the last couple of meetings, you've been asking for them to be pulled off
Yes,
so you can talk about them. But
yes.
I would ask you that before,
my right.
look at our consent items, so you go over them before we get here. It just helps in moving the time,
Yeah.
okay? Okay, so we'll, since you have a question, with 5051, we've already put it on consent on 50.
I know, now you have to believe.
So put 51 over to the side, and let's move forward to the next consent item of 52.
Chair, we pull 50 and 51?
Yes, it's a very quick question.
She's got a question, so we've already moved forward, but okay, pull both of them. Move on to P52.
Item P52 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on January 24th, 2024, and by affidavit of certified mailings and site postings. The item was continued from the March 12th, 2024 BCC meeting to today.
Item P52 is PEG 247765. It's a zoning amendment. Dempsey and Daughters, Inc., Dempsey and Daughters, for a change in zoning from an R2 low-density residential district and a C2 general commercial district to a C2 general commercial district with a voluntarily agreed upon deed restriction related to the Live Local Act. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Economic Growth Department and the Planning Commission.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is anyone here in the audience wish to speak against this item?
I have no one signed up for this item and no one on WebEx.
Okay. Yes.
I'm okay with leaving this on consent for commercial zoning. I just want to go on record that I really hope this doesn't become a car wash. I just want to say that. I'm leaving it on consent.
I'll leave it, okay. No one to speak against it and leave it on consent. Move on to P53.
Item P53 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on February 21st, 2024.
On P53, this is the adoption for this is your Omnibus amendment. This is, we are asking on this item that you transmit it to Florida Commerce and other reviewing agencies. I'll read the title. It's PEG 240011, it's Comprehensive Plan Amendment, CPA 2212. It's an omnibus text amendment providing for transmittal of the comprehensive plan text amendments to a future land use element pertaining to industrial compatibility adjacent to wetlands, commercial infill development, and commercial location limitations, providing for text amendments to future land use element appendix sections FLU A4, calculations of residential densities, and FLU A6, the official land use map, providing for text amendments to the conservation element pertaining to industrial compatibility adjacent to wetlands. We ask that you take public comment and authorize the transmittal of the amendment to the Department of Commerce and other reviewing agencies.
Okay, this is a public meeting on this item. Is anyone here to speak against this item?
Mr. Chair, I have no one signed up and no one on WebEx.
Okay. Seeing no one come forward, leave it on consent. Move on to P54.
P54 is being pulled. There is someone here to speak on that item. So if we can move on to P55.
I also have someone signed up, but I don't know if they're in opposition.
I believe they may have left, but we can double check.
Okay. Item P55 was published in Tampa Bay Times on March 20th, 2024.
Item P55 is PEG 240289. It's a DRI, Development of Regional Impact, recision. It's River Ridge DRI, Development of Regional Impact, NG Development Corporation. It's a request to rescind the River Ridge DRI number 074, located generally north of Decubilis and east of Little Road. We're asking that you approve the rescission.
Okay, did we do 54?
We asked for it to be pulled because there's someone here in
Oh, it's
opposition.
pulled. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't hear that part.
Sorry about that.
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
all right. So we're on 55.
Yes.
Is anyone here to speak against this item?
I have 3 people signed up, Mr. Chair. I don't know if they're here to speak against
Are you here
it.
to speak against it, or if you're here to speak against it, come forward. If not, it'll stay on consent. Seeing no one come forward,
That concludes your consent agenda.
that concludes the consent agenda, and,
Move approval of the consent agenda.
okay, got a motion second to approve consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. 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 Pass 4-0. Now, let's go back. We pulled 49, P49. So we're going to take each one of them this time. So we've got P49, P50, P51, and 54.
And that's it.
Okay?
Good afternoon, Gavin Covey, Planning and Economic Growth. I know we asked for a presentation.
Speak in the
Do we
mic.
want-
I can't hear you.
I'm so sorry. Can you hear me a little bit better now?
Yes. better.
Sorry. Do we want a full presentation, or is there some questions I can answer
Well-
for you?
Just that, I think I worked on this one a bit with the applicant. Is she here?
Yes, they're here.
So, we did a layout, right? I want that layout to be binding, and if it's not in here anywhere. Nowhere does it talk about that I can see. I was trying to see the updated, plan, and all I see is colors, but no layout. Site plan, whatever.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Starkey, Clark, Hobby, and Hobby, PA 109 North Brush Street, Tampa, Florida, have been sworn. Commissioner Starkey, we don't have enough on this particular project to make the site plan binding, but what we did do and what you saw, the reason why that's relevant in this one is we've basically created about 5 pages of conditions to force the form of development to meet that style. I'll give you just a few examples, and I can go through a bunch of these if we need to, but we have to meet the mudroom block.
Okay, because I don't have any of that in here,
It's in our conditions of approval.
which I didn't get.
Oh, you didn't get our
No.
conditions? Well, Christie's telling me condition 58, just so you know. We have a mudroom requirement for block sizing and no gating. That's one of the ones that we have. So you don't have the conditions at all?
No, I don't. That's
The
why I wanted the
The
presentation.
conditions of approval are exhibits A, B, and C in your agenda.
Okay, maybe my staff didn't print it out, but
I would assure you, Commissioner Starkey.
My last page
It's
right
23 pages.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've spent 4 months creating the conditions
I'll go to it on
to
it.
get what you want out of it. And
Yeah.
I'll just give you just a few of them. I won't bore the commission, but you must have vertically mixed-use buildings. We used the most urban cross-section in VOPH for the entry road off of Curly. We then required certain buildings up off of that road, and just to give you a sense of what we're dealing with, the sidewalks are 17 feet wide on this cross-section with on-street parking. So we've created about a page and a half of regulations if there is any gas station or if there is any car wash. We're following the standards that staff is proposing on that and the ordinance that's going to be coming before you. So we worked a lot with Gavin, Terry, and David on this to implement that.
can I ask you, when you say the sidewalk is 17 feet wide, you mean there is
This-
enough space so that they can have outdoor seating and all that?
Yes, yeah, it's called a sidewalk area, and the typical, I believe, is 56 AA or something like that. And it basically, what it does is it puts the buildings up on the edge of the curve, then you have 17 feet of patio and sidewalk area, and then it goes directly to on-street parking.
I wanted the other commissioners to kind of hear what you've done to make this a great corner for that area. So, and I think that from what you first showed us to where you ended up is so much better, and that's why I wanted the public to see it.
I know this is going to seem self-serving, but I'll give our client credit on this one. Christy and I told our client that, in our opinion, this is the most important corner for everything going into VOPH, and it has to be done right. And so staff worked us over, to be sure. We spent many hours, discussing these conditions, but our client ultimately agreed to all these design standards, so we're making sure it's being done the right way.
Yeah.
So we understand and we
Yeah.
appreciate it.
I went over this project, I think,
Yeah.
yesterday,
Yes, sir.
I think. And a very good project,
Yeah.
and looks very nice.
It's so much better than what
I've
was
seen
the
what you're
first
talking about,
layout.
and it's a good project.
Yeah.
Thank you
And
Sorry
very
you
much.
don't
it's
have
at
it
the
up there.
corner of
McCabe. and-
Curly and McCabe.
Right, right.
Northeast corner.
So it's got a little kind of town center in a way?
Got an urban edge with like
Yeah.
a town center and non-gated grid-style mixed-use multifamily area behind it.
Yeah,
Right.
because they're not, you can't expect us to read 26 pages of conditions for us to really understand what we're voting on. So.
Your staff didn't send it
A
to you.
picture sends 1,000 words, and if we just had the picture, is the picture in here?
It's in one of the exhibits in the presentation, but it's not in the MPUD conditions itself.
No, okay. Well,
Okay.
that was.
They've actually got on this corner, they've got an actual road going in between the
Yeah.
retail, commercial, and it really fits in, and it's very
Yeah.
walkable for the people that are be living there also.
Yeah, it's a great
So,
improvement.
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
good,
was someone getting ready to show something? Let's show it. Oh, no, I want a picture, not.
We don't need to go to the conditions.
Yeah, you don't have to
at
go through
length.
all
I think we're okay.
we don't need the 23 pages.
If
I
you-
hope you're not putting a
We're
gas
good.
station on that corner.
I
No, it's
don't know
not.
that we're going to, but if we do, it
I
has
wouldn't
to
think.
be right up against the urban edge and walkable on the side.
Yeah.
He's got the gas station, that's all you need.
Okay.
All right.
Anyway,
We're good.
I think
So I
we're
need,
okay.
I
Thank
need
you,
a
Ken.
motion on this item.
Did you take public comment?
Oh, there we
Oh,
go.
is there any public
There.
comment on this item?
I have no one signed up for P49 and no one on WebEx.
Okay. And none, pleasure of the board.
Move approval.
Got a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed 4-0. Move on to P50.
All right, I have a quick question. I don't need
Okay.
a whole presentation. I listened to the planning commission meeting. I just have a question of the applicant. And I guess I have a question of staff. On Willow Bend Parkway, I just pulled it up on my map. Is that, right now it's a 2-lane, non-mountable curb road, but it looks like we have land. Is that road going to be a 4-lane road eventually?
I can answer that question.
Okay.
Barbara Wilhite, 6327 Grand Boulevard, Newport Richey, 34652. When I was Chief Assistant County Attorney here, you did a permit with SwiftMud for a 4-lane road, and it was contested. My only DOA hearing I ever done in my life. I didn't know what I was doing. I had to write Bob Teese's testimony, I had to write Greg Risky's testimony, but
You've
that
been
road is
sworn
a-
at, Jim Barber.
I've been sworn at, yes.
Okay, thanks.
That road
Gotta
is
get it on
permitted as a
record.
4-lane road. We did all the permit, you guys did all your impacts for 4 lanes, you mitigated your wetlands for 4 lanes. I know that's like a long answer to a short question, but I thought it was interesting history about that road, so.
So it will be 4-lane one day?
Whenever you all ready to do it, but you have the permit, because I went and fought for the
Okay.
permit.
I hope there'll
Okay.
be a multi-use or wider sidewalk, whatever we have.
We are giving 10 additional feet, even though I think we could have made the case that all the right-of-ways there, but we're giving 10 additional
Okay.
feet.
So I listened to the planning commission meeting, but I couldn't give it my full attention because I was doing other things at the time. And I heard that you're going to be putting up a fence?
We were asked to do a wall, because when you go
wall.
down Willow Bend Parkway, all of Willow Bend is walled. So the thought was to have this consistent, instead of doing a PVC fence, we committed to do the wall.
Is it a brick wall or
It is,
it's a masonry wall?
I'm not, it can be precast, but it's still ornamental, but it's a
Okay.
wall.
So my question is, and I've had this discussion with Brad, and I don't know when it applies and it doesn't apply, but simple question, are you going to be putting landscaping in front of that wall?
Yes.
Okay, that's my question.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Did you take?
Wait, do you have to take public comment?
Does anyone wish to speak to this item?
Mr. Chair, I have no one signed up and no one on WebEx for this item.
And I see no one coming forward, so we have a motion.
Move to approve.
Second, Chair.
Okay. Motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 4-0. Move on to P51.
And I have a very quick question on this one, too. And I don't remember if I asked it when I had my meeting with this applicant. And you don't have to do the whole presentation. I just wanted to ask the applicant, I don't think are they doing rear-loaded?
It is not in the deed restriction. This is a
Okay.
Euclidean rezoning, so we don't get too in-depth with that at this
All right.
time.
So if the backyards are facing Clinton, are we putting a fence or a wall? Because I don't think we want the backyards exposed to Clinton, is my guess.
Thank you, Shelley Johnson, 6400 Madison Street, and I have been sworn. The conditions will require what we do, whatever the landscaping code requires along that right-of-way, but if there's a request that we put up a wall or a fence, I don't think that the applicant has an issue with that at all.
Well, Commissioner, this is your district, you know it better than me, but do you think there should be a masonry wall? If it's not
So
rear
I'm
loaded?
looking at a different picture. They had the old picture up. Now, where's this located on Clinton?
Clinton Avenue?
Oh, it's across from the Waller property?
Yeah, the wall.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. It's right across there up on the hill.
And so the backside of that is against homes on the backside? There's a buffer back there?
Yeah.
How much buffer?
I don't know what the natural buffer is, but it'll be, if it's residential back there, it'll be, what, 10 foot? Or do you have to do buffer to residential? I guess you don't even have to buffer residential to residential. But They'll be
question
doing
is
whatever the
along
landscape code requires.
Whether something has to be along Clinton.
Do these houses back up to Clinton?
The frontage is on Clinton. That's the entrance is off of Clinton, yeah. They'll be pulling, that's where the front of the property will be, the
Be
development.
fronting Clinton?
Well, okay, I think that
But
we
it sits
should,
up on a
could say
hill.
maybe if the houses are rear-loaded and the fronts are on Clinton, there does not need to be a fence. If the houses are front-loaded and the rears are on Clinton, I feel like there should be a masonry wall, not a PVC fence, a decorative masonry wall of some sort, with landscaping.
I agree with Commissioner Sparkley on that, Sheriff.
Okay, let's hear what,
That's a high
Yeah,
volume
he was
road.
saying that all of the ones on Clinton will be facing the road.
So they're rear-loaded?
Yes.
Okay, well then that's fine, it's great, it'll be right on the trail.
That answers it.
It'll be
Yeah,
wonderful. The kids can have lemonade
yeah,
stands
they'll
and
be
make a lot of
facing
money.
Clinton, the houses will be. But there'll be the entry for these houses will be in the rear, right?
Yes, on Clinton Avenue, those will be all rear loads because the front of the houses will be, the front of the
Okay.
townhomes will be facing Clinton.
All right,
And that'll look very nice.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
Yeah, I just didn't
All
ask
right.
that question when I was with you guys.
So,
Okay,
It's
move
public hearing,
approval.
public hearing, so is anyone that wish to speak against this or for this? Not necessarily for it, but against it.
I have no one signed up for P51 and no one on WebEx.
Okay,
Move approval?
got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed 4-0. Move on to P54.
Item P54 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on February 21st, 2024, and by affidavit of certified mailings and site postings.
Good afternoon, Amy Toll with Planning and Economic Growth. The item before you is PEG 24-0124. It is a comprehensive plan amendment in the name of CPA 2311 Sanderbin. So the item before you is a comprehensive plan amendment. It is a large-scale amendment. Currently, the future land use is AG agricultural. The applicant is proposing a future land use amendment to AGR agricultural rural to develop 18 single-family residential homes, which equate to approximately 5-acre lots on around 92.6 acres. Subject site's located northwest corner of Johnston Road and Bellamy Brothers Boulevard. There is an accompanying rezoning petition that will follow the plan amendment. Here is a visual representation of where it's located in the North Market area. Here is our transportation map. As denoted, it is located on Bellamy Brothers Road with the 52, State Road 52 to the south, approximately 5.75 miles. The context map here is to highlight the proximity to the rural areas. So as you can see, it is located in rural area 2, which is your rural transition area. So on the west side of Bellamy Brothers, rural area 2. On the east side of Bellamy Brothers is going to be your rural area 1, the northeast rural area. What this visual is showing is the different green shades are your agricultural zoning districts. Currently it is AG, so the light colored is your AG agricultural zoning district, or I'm sorry, future land use. The darker green is going to be your AGR. So it does highlight within proximity that the area does take into consideration both AG and AGR land use classifications in the area. It is important to note too that this is the rural area 2. Rural area 2 is your rural transition area, which is intended to be a transition from your rural area 1, northeast rural. The context of that, meaning the northeast rural area allows for density between AG, AGR, and a Res 1. Rural transition area is intended to transition from that. Therefore, the AG and the AGR in the rural transition area is an appropriate transition from rural area 1 into rural area 2. So your existing future land use being AG, your proposed future land use being AGR, your existing zoning district is AC, and these are the following policies that the proposed amendment is consistent with. And with that, we recommend authorization of the transmittal of this project or this package to the Department of Commerce and other reviewing agencies. I can answer any questions if necessary. I also have the project planner here to answer those questions as well.
And I can add on this, this particular property's got a hard road right down the middle of it. Very wide, very good hard road. And these 5-acre lots have come off that hard road, so, on the property. Yeah. This is a public hearing, so, applicant, come forward.
I hope there's a next parte, because I did meet with the applicant. She didn't say, so.
Cindy Terrapini, representing the applicant. I defer to your attorney, but I believe an ex parte disclosure wouldn't be required. This is a legislative matter, not a quasi-judicial.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
But we require, we ask them to do it for everything, so it's neater. But you're right, it doesn't.
Thank you. I just wanted to double check. I wasn't losing my mind and haven't forgotten something basic to my understanding of planning. My name is Cindy Terrapini. Address is 128 East Tarpon Avenue in Tarpon Springs with Terrapini Planning Strategies. I represent the property owner, who is also the applicant for this plan amendment.
And ma'am, you've been sworn?
Yes, ma'am, I have been sworn.
Thank you.
Legislative.
Oh, thank you.
As the staff stated, this is a plan amendment is a request from one agricultural plan category to another agricultural plan category. The intent of those two categories, the existing category and the proposed, are very similar. They both suggest the intent to maintain the agricultural character of the area and to minimize infrastructure, public infrastructure. The primary difference, and that's why we're here today, is the size of the lot. In the current plan category, it's a lot size of 10 acres. The proposed is a minimum lot size of 5 acres. So on this 92-acre site, it's a difference between 9 lots that we could do today and 18 lots that we could do if you so approved the plan amendment. Right. There are 2 homes existing on the property today. One was the original homestead, and that's been renovated by my client, the property owner. The second home is a newer home, and it's in pretty good shape. Both homes are planned to remain on the site. The lot layout, as Chairman Oakley alluded to, we've done a conceptual lot layout that does not obviously accompany the plan amendment, but just to show to you and to the staff, it can accommodate 18 lots. The 2 homes can be accommodated on their lot, meeting the lot size and the setbacks, and with the new lots that would be added to it. The proposed change was so de minimis with regard to traffic that your staff did not even require a traffic study. Obviously, we're only adding 9 single-family homes to the property. The site is in the rural transition area, and I think that's an important thing to do. This is what we are proposing, that transition, so that the urban scale development that you have all along has been approved all along that 52 corridor with 8,000 residential units and hundreds of thousands of commercial and office development is to our south along that corridor, extends pretty far north of 52, as you're well aware. To the east is the northeast rural area. So at 5-acre lots, we are that transition between the urban scale you have along 52 and the northeast Pasco area to the east. And in fact, one of the residents of the northeast Pasco rural area stated at the Planning Commission public hearing that this is exactly what they were looking for in the rural transition area and was in support of our application. We are going to preserve the agricultural rural land with no extensions of sewer and water, no impacts on public services, little impacts, no impacts on natural resources. Just one correction to the agenda memo, the amount of wetlands on the site is about a third of an acre, slightly less than this is listed in the report, and it meets the other criteria of the plan amendments. We do know that we have right-of-way to be reserved along Bellamy Brothers Boulevard, and that'll be accomplished during the site plan process. Your staff has recommended approval, and the Planning Commission also recommended approval at their hearing in March. I respectfully request your approval, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? This public hearing is there anyone here to speak against this item?
Mr. Chair, I have one individual signed up, Daniel Raderman.
Are you here to speak against it or for it?
You're in a full, you pulled it off consent, it's either way.
Oh, so you pulled it, okay, come forward. We'll let you speak anyway.
Thank you. Daniel Ratterman, 27131 Johnston Road, Dade City. After speaking
You've been
with
sworn?
members.
You've been
Sorry.
sworn?
He doesn't need to be.
Oh, he doesn't need to be, okay. All right.
Thank you. After speaking with a couple of members of the county planning department, we do have many concerns about this, but as I understand it, this is not the right venue to express those concerns. And for that reason, for the most part, I'm going to table my concerns until the June 4th meeting. The representative recently made a comment, though, about the environmental impact. I would like it noted that on the area that I own, that property is right across from the proposed property. And it is a dedicated wetland area. It's a low-lying wetland area. There are some grade considerations for this property that the applicant is requesting this change for. And when we consider capping off some of these sandy, absorbent pasture lands with hard surfaces, that will certainly impact that wetland area directly across from Bellamy Brothers. The other issue is, I just like it on record that, just to add emphasis to the comments that I made at last month's meeting, my neighbors and I, including the Bartles, are very much opposed to this on the grounds that the density that's being requested is very much out of character with the surrounding area. And I understand this is what's described as a transition zone in the master plan. Don't fully understand that or probably appreciate that as just a normal property owner, because if you live there, if you spend any time there, there's nothing transitory about this area. For as far south on Bellamy Brothers until you hit 52, it's either horse farms or pasture land. You can go as far north on Bellamy to Powell, it's horse farms and pasture land. You can go east on Johnston until you get to the mobile home park. It's horse farms and pasture land. So I just wanted that on record, and I'll be back at the next meeting. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay. Just so everyone's aware that a 5-acre, one house for 5 acres is a transitional rural acreage. So I live on that. Other people live on the same thing in this area. So there are large ranches out in the same area, so just so you know. So, all right, pleasure of the board.
There's a closed public comment?
We call for public comment again.
Okay. Is anyone else here that wish to speak to this item?
I have no one else signed up and no one on WebEx.
Okay. Seeing no one come forward.
Approval, Chair.
Second.
Got a motion and a second?
Yeah, I think 5 acres is a good transition from one to the other.
Okay. So I got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed 4-0. That ends the public hearing part of our meeting today, and we'll move back to regular item P38.
All right.
Should move on.
R38. R38?
R38.
This is when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Christina Cordone, Assistant Director, Parks, Recreation, and Natural Resources. I'm going to pinch hit here for Mr. Keith Wiley, who couldn't be here today. So I am here to present a capital maintenance MSTU for the Parks Department. So during the fiscal year 25 budget workshop, our department received recommendation to present a capital maintenance MSTU for parks. So this is what I'm here to do today. A little bit of history. In 2016, the board approved our parks master plan, and that master plan identified $14.1 million in deferred maintenance, $22 million in improvements that needed to occur in existing park facilities, and $185 million to new capital maintenance projects, or capital projects. In 2018, we went out for the GO bond referendum, the general obligation bond. So the public approved $22 million for parks deferred maintenance. That was a ballot initiative, and it passed by 73% margin. That funding source is not a recurring funding source. It was for one-time capital maintenance projects. Last year, the board approved the increase to the park's impact fee. So that increase went from approximately $900 per single-family dwelling and $627 for multifamily to to $3,450 per dwelling unit cost. That fee increase was approved under a plan-based approach, so there's approximately 19 projects that are going to be occurring countywide for a total of about $267 million, and that's anticipated to be completed by 2045. These projects are essential to maintaining our level of service standards that is outlined by the comprehensive master plan as the population of the county continues to grow. The Parks Master Plan that was adopted in 2016 did not contemplate a long-term operation. It didn't contemplate the long-term operation maintenance needs for our existing and our proposed facilities. So on this slide, you'll see this is currently what our department manages. So 23 active parks, 14 passive parks, rec complexes, community centers, swimming pools, athletic fields, boat ramps, multi-use trails, conservation land, parkland. We have approximately 200 employees, 180 seasonal positions that are coming here soon to help us with summer camp and all of our summer activities, weekly, monthly, annual programming. We also do community events and special events. And so to kind of manage and oversee all that, this is currently our operating and maintenance budget. I think I went over. So during the FY22, we received $1 million for non-capital improvement projects. So that amount was added to our operating budget. Based on that information, our department, compared to the size of other jurisdictions across the nation, compared to the National Parks and Recreation Association, we've been able to establish a benchmark of about $58 per capita. Currently, with our $22 million budget, we have about $31 per capita for operating and maintenance. The GO bond that was approved in 2018, that funding is either going to be expended or encumbered by the end of this fiscal year. So starting in fiscal year 25, the Parks Department does not have any funding for capital maintenance. Our department has created a standard asset replacement schedule. So we have 20-year plans for all of our facilities. When you add all of our amenities that we have, and when we need to replace them, that's on average about $8.2 million that we need of funding every year to upkeep with the replacement of our capital projects. So some of the capital maintenance examples that we need are replacing playgrounds, replacing fencing, repairing irrigation, doing park renovations, things of that nature. So we are here basically to recommend that we have a dedicated capital maintenance MSTU for park. If we are to do the $8.2 million, that equates to about 0.1768 millage, so about $27 for an average taxable household value of $150,000. As I mentioned, with our 20-year plans, what we've done is we've taken the asset value of all of our amenities and parks. So we estimate approximately $500 to $700 million in asset value. So if this dedicated capital MSTU for maintenance is established, what we're asking for results approximately 1.64% of the replacement value. The standard business practice is about 2 to 5% for the replacement value of all the assets that you have. So for a quick reference for our execution, the 2018 general obligation bond, we've done an annual execution of expenditures of about $3.6 million. So these are some examples of projects that could be completed with a capital maintenance MSTU. These are projects that we were able to complete with a general obligation bond. So this is the Lake Lisa Playground. This is what it looked like before it got replaced. This is what it currently looks like now. A little bit different.
That's awesome.
That's good.
Yeah.
This is Strickland Boardwalk on the north end. On the left side, you'll see what it used to look like, what it currently looks like today.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
The Cruise Lake Tower. This is what it currently looks like today, and with the Cruise Lake Tower, we did add a sidewalk leading to it, so that way it'd be accessible by all.
Nice.
Good deal.
It's a beautiful view up there. This is the Land O'Lakes fishing dock that's in the back part of the park. This is what it currently looks like today. And this is the Starkey Wilderness Park, the resurfacing of the multi-use trail. We don't have a before picture, but this is what the trail looks like after it was resurfaced.
And I've ridden it, it's fabulous.
With 10 obligation bonds. I've rollerbladed it a lot. So this is an example of what the potential millage rate could be for a dedicated capital maintenance MSTU for parks, based on the total budget amount, what each taxable household value would be. One of the benefits for the Parks Department to have a dedicated MSTU is that it will allow us to address the future maintenance needs of as basically the county population and the tax base grows. It will also reduce the future needs for the park's maintenance to be coming out of the general fund. And in addition, it'll remove competition with the Public Services branch for new funding through the BPIs for the general fund. So currently for the FY25 budget, we have approximately $2 million in BPIs that we are requesting that could come out of that list and go into a parks capital maintenance MSTU. So the next step potentially could be for the Parks Department to prepare an MSTU ordinance for BCC consideration, then set an MSTU assessment, and then the MSTU would be included within the standard fiscal year 25 county budget approval timeline. So in conclusion, we're basically here to receive guidance from you guys on how we address the capital maintenance needs for the Parks Department.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, yes.
I have been waiting for this day for a couple years. I've been asking and asking for this. You know, I can show you pictures of Starkey Regional Park, or whatever we call that, where the grass now in the fields is gone because of such overuse, because we don't have enough. And Christina Fitzpatrick sent me the photos because her kids were out there playing soccer, and she said it was almost at dangerous levels that the kids are going to twist their ankles because they've overloved the soccer field. So I know that we have a Little League charter in Starkey Ranch that I know Keith asked them not to charter it because we don't have fields for them. They're going to be in your district, no, in Bradford's district, in Bexley, but we don't have the money to build it yet. So the last time we added a Little Leagues complex, Holiday Rec?
Yes, ma'am.
In the 80s?
Yeah.
So we are way behind on getting these projects out of the ground, and the maintenance, and then we need to maintain it. I can tell you that the trail going up Starkey Boulevard, which is part of the Coast to Coast Trail, it needs to be repaved.
But when I came on board as county commissioner in 16, we were 20 years behind on maintenance for all the parks.
I don't think.
And that was the reason for the bond that came about.
Commissioner Waitman.
And you got to be very, very thankful. It wasn't this group or the group prior commissioners that were here before. We would have done it and approved it. But the fact of it is, our citizens approved that bond issue that brought us out of that. Of course, COVID came along and actually helped us finish a lot of that work quicker than we could have otherwise. So.
Commissioner Oakley, Commissioner Waitman wasn't here, but I remember when your constituents came here. I don't know the name of the ball field up here.
The
Little League.
Burks.
The Little League
Burks
parents came to us from that field and said they were turning the lights on and off with an 8-foot 2x4 so they didn't get electrocuted. Some Premier County we are. I'll never forget that story.
Well, we've moved past that. So.
Oh my gosh, so I hope that was the first thing we got fixed. But I am 100%
now they're
in favor
remote
of this,
controlled.
I think, you know, our parks are integral to providing a quality of life, and grateful that, I know it took a lot of work to get here, and I'm sorry Keith couldn't be here. I know he wanted to be here to present this, but I'm all for moving forward. We're not
Can we
taking
go
any
back
action
to-
today.
Can we go
right?
back to the slide where it showed the rates, I guess it is? So at one day in the future, we'll be asked to approve some rate on here?
You'll be asked to approve an ordinance first.
Ordinance first.
Then you'll-
Yeah, the
then
order of
you-
operations is what we're asking for direction today is to go ahead and prepare the ordinance and hold the public hearings. If all that goes in advance of the budgeting process, then we would budget appropriately and then the MSTU will be established. And then in July, when you set the trim, you can decide at what rate, if any, the board would like to select on that for the upcoming tax year.
Well, I don't want to speak for each and every one, but I can say the majority of us feel that we definitely need this for our citizens in Pasco, because they're growing and growing and more being born in our county and more hitting the field. So it's well needed, and we've got a great Parks Department, and I commend all of y'all for the work you do and to bring about all the successes we have through our sports area in our parks. So, yeah. Any other questions or? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, we here, our office hears it daily, just about. We need more fields, we need space, we need land, we need this, batting cages, you name it. I think I'd like to see this MSTU go further. I think we can look a little bit longer term and evolve this MSTU to where the parks really has its own funding source and its own funding mechanism through the MSTU, and not rely on the general fund should times get tough. And eventually, I'd like to see the vast majority of the parks budget tied into an MSTU and pulled off the general fund. That way, essentially, the parks budget, they don't have to worry about, there'll be a public hearing process, so there'll be processes if the MSTU are reduced or increased or what have you. They don't have to worry about, our citizens and the folks who use these fields so often have to worry about general fund budget wars, right? So just something to think about as we go further, maybe expand the MSTU, the role of this MSTU, and while funding that MSTU to the right number, we could pull the burden of parks off the general fund, and then parks have its own long-term standalone budget source. That way our parks team can really think long-term and really think 20 years ahead, maybe 30 years ahead.
Did you heard her say 2045?
Well, further than that.
And well, that's what, that some of the money from the bond, they're not gonna expend it
But
to.
the bond is done. I don't want to have to, with parks.
I'll be
the way we're
dead
going,
before we see
our
those
average-
improvements.
Like, what's our average? 46 is our average age now in Pasco? So
I'm getting younger.
we see our demographic changing and the need changing. So just something to think about as we move forward on the MSTU process here, and fully supportive of MSTU for our parks. Our residents are clearly demanding it and wanting it, and happy to work through this process and find a healthy number.
Mr. Chair.
So,
Yes.
That's the 2045 date is build out of the facilities plan.
Oh,
And that's
That's
right.
tied to impact fees. Your bonds have to be done in 3 years.
3 years.
okay. Another advantage to doing this way, I believe, is that this can be bonded, where impact fees can't really.
No.
No?
Well,
An MSTU can be bonded, right?
You would have to have a referendum. To bond any taxes, you'd have to go out to referendum.
Up to any amount, or after a certain amount?
The general law is that if you are going to pledge ad valorem taxes of any kind, you have to have a referendum. That's
Okay.
why bonds were done
Okay.
by referendum.
Okay. What would it be required of this MSTU to take over all the needs of parks?
So the parks budget, I don't know, it's probably roughly 20 to 30 million.
22 million.
22 million annually. So if you were to back that math out, I'm going to speak rough order of magnitude, probably $500,000 under operating revenue is what that currently looks like. Thank you. Yeah, 0.4625. Not too bad here. So that is what the current share, if you will, of the parks budget is of the general operating millage. So there's not necessarily a one-for-one correlation in terms of millage, just because you're cutting cities out, and there's definite ways to look at that. But right now in that millage, there is no allocation for what we're talking about here today, right? We talked about the impact fees. If I use the house analogy, the impact fee builds the house. The general operating millage here sort of funds the operations of the house, right? Pays the light bill, buys the food. This here is for replacing the air conditioning, the hot water heater, the roof when those times come. So that's the piece that's currently missing, and Christina hit on that. You know, we've been managing to take about $1 million of general revenue. We've been able to put it towards that, but that can't be guaranteed. So as Commissioner Waitman puts out, you know, wanting to try to guarantee a dedicated funding source for parks is something. But what this MSTU currently today stands before you is to do the maintenance capital repair. So we're not looking necessarily at doing the entire operation of the parks budget, unless the board, you know, wants to direct us to move in that direction. But that could also be a longer term vision as well, or a subject of budget workshops, or however the board wants to proceed.
I think this phase we're in right now is going to move in the right direction, because we haven't been able to have monies like this to do that maintenance, keep up with it. Mr. Mariano?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I was on the boards that were struck by the recession way back when, 06, 07, and we had to cut our budget from parks and libraries, and they even put fees in parks, et cetera. So it's a long battle back from that.
Right.
I am very optimistic from what I'm hearing from the board, and I think Parks is doing a phenomenal job with everything they're doing. The inflation caught us from some of the projects we want to get done, but boy, it is. I would caution the board, though, from getting too heavy to putting all the parks budget to the MSTU and too much into that. You've got two cities on the west side that are blighted to like 90%. One's 99, one's probably 90%. Those people aren't paying into that. And I don't think this MSTU is going to be paid by the cities too, are they? No. So you're going to throw all of the burden on just the county when everybody uses this thing. So I think we need these conversations about what's really blighted, what's not, and let's go relook at that again. Because it's not right for the county to have to pay for all of it when the cities are using it as well. So I think you got to kind of look closely where you're going. If you want to get caught up, that's one thing, but again, you're throwing that burden on all the county residents, not the cities as well, who do benefit from it. So as we take the next steps, I think you need to really look at that.
I think we need to, I agree with you, we need to be careful of how we move toward something like that, but at the same time, you got to remember, I had a call from a couple of my citizens here around the east side of Pasco, and actually they were concerned about the impact fee that was coming out on the parks. He said, oh, I don't know if I can afford to pay that. Well, he's already living here a couple, 3 years, and the fact of it is, he was kind of elated when I told him, I said, well, that's not going to be charged to you. You've already built your house. You've already paid your impact fees. This is for future homes that are coming in that are going to have to pay this fee. So he was glad to hear that, because he was assuming that we were putting a big burden of tax on our citizens that are already here, and we're not doing that at all. So all we're doing is adding something that will help maintain our fields for the future. So, yeah. So any other questions, or
I'm good.
any more direction? I think this is the right way to go. I'm not quite sure of the number right now. So.
Well, I think if the board would just like to formally vote, direct us to bring back an ordinance for public hearing, we certainly can do that.
Move to bring the ordinance back to the county.
Okay, got a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I got a motion. I got a motion. I need a second.
Second.
Got a motion, second.
I'm not going to hear that.
All those in favor, does this have to be roll call or not?
No.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 4-0. Okay. Thank you for your presentation. So,
I took it.
Very good. Now we'll go to old business. I believe that's where we're at.
You are correct.
So with old business, Mr. Waitman.
Thank you. I have a couple of items to bring up today. I'm not sure what order they're on the screen.
Okay.
So we have a bit of an interactive map here. And
What is that?
there's a whole lot
The car
going,
washes.
there's a whole
Oh
lot
my
going on.
gosh.
So my team, we have mapped out
That's so
car
crazy.
washes and storage facilities. And the vast, thank you, Brian Holmes, for being patient with me as we work through this. For the vast majority of the major corridors throughout our county. And I'd love to share the working document with your offices, and if you see them in your neck of the woods, add them to it, because this goes to my point of the densities of the car washes in blue and the storage facilities in yellow. And to really have a visual, they're so on top of each other. I know staff is working on this, but it's just pretty eager to have some sort of idea of what we're doing here. I wanted to show everybody what we're...
Oh, you're missing a bunch in my area.
Right, well, we figured we'd cut off at 41, the Veterans Expressway, but as we were working our way through the county, you'll see how dense they are. And, Brian, remind me of the qualifications to have a car wash is, specific language. Brian will tell you, there's no...
There was no separation distance for some, and this was pretty general for some of the standards for some of the franchises. There were no separation distances. It was more all about out-positioning their competitor.
Yeah, so there's no, with a car wash franchise, distance to another car wash doesn't matter. It's all about pure traffic count and, really out-competing your competitor in the market. So they don't care if you're 10 feet apart. So when you draw, radius around areas, they're so close to one another. But I just wanted to show the board a visual, because we hear it all the time from our, folks in the community. We probably all get emails, we see it online. Here's a real-life map that we have, and we're still adding to it as weeks go by. Just thought everybody might find this interesting.
But what can we do? I mean, that's zoning.
Staff.
Yep.
David?
I mean, it's like you could say, how many fast foods do you want on a road?
How you gonna keep places for storage when you got many homes coming yet? And it seems like everybody needs one, a storage building besides their own.
Well, there's very few attics and no basements around.
Yeah.
David Engel, Director of Planning and Economic Growth. We are working on a number of initiatives. The first one that'll be here in front of the board in the next month or so is going to be the car wash ordinance. We're addressing the frequency and distribution of car washes. We realize that the board is very concerned about consuming these commercial corridors, which is these low-paying, low-job-creating uses. We didn't want to be arbitrary about the spacing, so we have a plan, and we're relying on data and information to make it, and we'll have a recommendation to you shortly. We do have some regulatory refinements that we presented and the board's approved on third-party storage, and if you need further work there, we'll certainly look into that.
I know, it's good to have the evolution of some of the storage facilities coming in, really doing a mixed-use space, office
That's
on the
right.
bottom floor of their storage facility, and maybe even evolve it to some instances. You have, a residential component to the storage facilities. There's so many more options. They're taking prime commercial real estate, and if we can challenge them to think bigger and add more job creating spaces within their product, that'd be fantastic. So anyway, if anybody would like to have a copy of this and add to it, I'm happy to share. It's been kind of an eye-opening project. Denise, you like it, we'll get all this to send it over. Send it over to everybody, Mr. Engel.
You can see where everybody lives.
Yeah. The next article, we sent out an article, the Times actually, Mike Cabral and I were talking about this, I think the day before, and Carballo's article popped up about our seniors going back to work in the workplace, whether mainly for financial reasons to keep up with their cost of living in this inflationary market. And sitting on the aging board and talking with Anne Marie and listening to the services they provide. But 65 and older persons are working longer and longer, or they're having to go back into the workforce. If you haven't had a chance to read the Times article, it's really eye-opening. And next week at the Area Agency on Aging meeting coming up, and we're going to get a meeting with Kathy here. I'd like to find a way, if seniors or folks are having to come out of retirement, to help them not be as intimidated to come back into the workforce. We have AmSkills that provides training to a younger workforce, career sources out there, and other technical institutes, but find a way to capture those folks who may need to come back into the workforce and help them feel comfortable coming back into the workforce, and to give them upskilling or modernization of their skills to be able to get back to work. I think they'd be a great asset back to our employers, because everybody's looking for a good employee, and a lot of these folks have a lifetime of skills and have acquired tremendous knowledge, and I think still have great value in our workplace. And then a piece to add to this too, and we approved today several different funding sources for the area agency or any accepting some funds, is maybe add a piece of, I guess, a form of financial literacy, if you will, on how to navigate the money struggles of this really expensive world that we're in, as folks are having to step out of retirement, come back to work to make enough to pay off like the article mentioned, some windows, appliances, that sort of thing. So as we look through and we promote our job skills training programs, I'd like to capture, our older Americans who may need to come back to work and help them feel comfortable coming back into the workplace. So just something to think about if they're out there. I don't know what AmSkills Commissioner Starkey does something for older folks, but if they
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to.
We just put a lady in her 60s into a career in manufacturing.
Yeah, to market to them somehow. Mr. Engel?
Thank you again, David Engel, Planning Director, Economic Growth Director. I just wanted to applaud the board because back in 2018, the board initiated a pilot program called the Pasco Reentry Program. We are funding CareerSource directly and provide a source of non-WIOA related funding that actually upskills and gets people back into the workforce. It's been highly successful. Not only are we focused on people that are older and want to get back in the workforce, we work on veterans, homeless, and they've had over 180 placements of homeless people off the street into jobs. And we are working with CareerSource on a multi-year continuation because it's been so successful. It's for Pasco residents only.
Yeah. So I think as we go through this expensive time, that we have a renewed interest and effort and take a look at it and maybe market a little bit broader to that group of folks. And then the last item I have is I'd like to appoint Matthew Munns to the Planning Commission for Pete Hansel, who retired recently. Matt is, so as you may know, Bill Munns, county engineer for a long time. Matt's an engineer for a private firm, and he's currently on the Dade City Planning Commission. And he has an interest in serving at a higher level. And Chris Poole serves on the Planning Commission. He's east of 41. Matt would be east of 41. And between those two and the other three on the west side of 41, have a real good grasp and understanding of Pasco County from Hernando County line to the Hillsborough County line. And so I'd be grateful for the board's support to appoint Matt. And Matt would start on the Planning Commission in May. If approved.
On the what commission?
Planning Commission.
I'll second the
In
motion.
place of who?
Pete Hansel, who retired.
Oh, he's still not, he hadn't been replaced?
Pete dropped off.
Okay, so
I
this
just
is
found
your
one.
person you want
Yes.
to? Okay.
I'll second the motion.
All right, got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you, board members, and that's all I have.
It passed 4-0, so That'd be good. We'll move on to Ms. Starkey.
I sent Sonia some pictures. I attended the ULI conference, and so did our county administrator in Tampa. I really wish some of you all would have gone to the Florida Summit. I think it was invaluable. You would have known a lot of people there. I think you enjoyed it, right? I don't have to speak about it in your notes. Yeah. I took some slides here, some photos of some slides from John Burns. This is who's moving here. Folks from New York, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Chicago, Long Island. I can tell you when I run into these people, they just say, how can you run your government? The tax is so low here. I hear that all the time from people moving down here from up north. Next one. This is the number of retirees that are going to grow over the next 5 years. The dark one is the Tampa MSA, and the light one is the Sarasota MSA. But you can see it's between, the biggest numbers are between, let's see, how would I rank that? 63 to 22. So we're getting younger and younger and younger. But we're going to have a lot of folks retiring with income here. I didn't put the income slide here, but that was amazing. Okay. The 25 to 44-year-olds comprise the largest age cohort of the single-family renters. So they were talking about how the rental market has just blown up, and a lot of it is because of these guys. And a lot of this age group, they can work anywhere in the country. They're working from home. My daughter's friend, he's a geologist, works for a company out of Texas. He was living in Denver, and now he's living in St. Pete. But, you know, he doesn't go into the office. Girlfriend of mine works for an ad agency in Tampa, and she lives in Scotland. They can live anywhere they want, which is why we see these apartment complexes with these amenities going up everywhere. Okay, next one. And here's affordability. So again, it's harder and harder for the young ones to buy anything, the younger ones. And here's the remote and hybrid work. This is why the suburbs are growing, and why Pasco, one of the reasons Pasco is growing so fast. And I don't know if I put the slide here, so hang on for a second on that one. One of the things they said with the build-to-rents is one of the reasons they think they're so popular is because some of these folks who've retired, and I see it at Starkey Ranch, there's people in Longleaf that have done this, they're buying something a little smaller, or they're renting just to be near their grandkids. They don't want to leave where they are full-time, but they're renting something closer so they could be closer to their grandkids in the area. So, and this kind of shows you about the U.S. work from home share. That next one is something that really caught my eye, and I actually saw this project when I went to Lakewood Ranch, and it's something we might look at. And you think about, I saw this when I was on a bike ride in Lake Traverse, Michigan. And think about the sidewalk in downtown Tampa, and think about the park in downtown St. Pete. The edge of the amenity of the lake is reserved for the public. So the apartment complex is set a little bit back from the edge of the lake. And that makes that an amenity for everybody, not just the people in the apartment.
Every lake in Michigan has access for public.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I rode my bike all along Lake Michigan. So I think this is something we should be thinking about when the development comes in, and how can we just improve quality of life, and reserving that little edge might be something we want to be talking about. Yeah.
Isn't the Black Lake project similarly laid out like this?
We have a bike trail. The Orange Belt Trail goes along the back side of it, along the park, because it's the old railroad right away. Oh no, Black Lake. I'm sorry. So Black Lake. Black Lake.
Odessa, across from the ranch.
So we asked them to make sure they had a public space in their layout where, because there's a couple of restaurants, where it could be a shared outdoor space between the restaurants that are going in there, right? With a little walkway to a dock on a lake, just to use your lake or pond or whatever as an amenity and increase the ability to have more opportunities to sit outside or whatever. You know, you could be having dinner, if your kids are done, they could run down and be on the dock looking at the lake or whatever, something like that. But lastly, I'm not saying I attended the firefighters, the fire department's party at Safety Town. That was the cake.
Wow. That's impressive.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
But they had a great event down there, Mission Barbecue, served up some great barbecue. Very impressive. And I think that's a nice event, and maybe y'all can make it out there next time, but great event. So I think I'll save these for next time. This is on homeless, but I'll save it for next time. That's it for me.
Okay. Mr. Mariano?
Yes, I got a couple of pictures. Matter of fact, some of them from the fire event as well, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah,
it was a great family event that everybody got there, and it was a great chance for them to all get together and hang out, which was really cool. Advent Health, I tell you, what a great group they are to step up and fund that. Great sponsor for us. There's your firefighters. And that cake. And Commissioner Starkey, you also even donated a basket for...
That's so cute. Yes, we had
Was that fire engine cake
yeah.
also?
They were taking this picture when I arrived. Yes.
Did it?
I love that picture.
Wow, big time.
It was the weather was just perfect, right?
Yeah.
Big dog on the left.
And then look at our sidewalk. Oh, is that your sidewalk from before, Jack? That's cute.
Okay. And do you have pictures for Loma Avenue? There's a neighborhood where they've got I think it's a 1.2 acre piece of property, and they've got all sorts of code violations. Actually, just were killing snakes out there the other day, so it's gotten kind of dangerous. But it looks like they're just bringing yard waste in, and I don't see any stockpiling of the facility to actually do any compost or anything else, but...
oh, that's horrible. Where's that?
This is up in Hudson. So we have a land development code that says if you're going to do this type of work, you have to go through a process. They're trying to hang this on as far as the Right to Farm Act. And if this person gets away with it, it's going to keep on going, so.
No, that's horrible.
You know, Mike, I think you need to work with staff, and we need to work with the attorney's office, et cetera, because they're even throwing the hands up on it, but there's just no way you can allow this to happen. This will continue on and on and on.
Oh, that's horrible.
And again, if you're going to go do this, wouldn't you have to go through site development?
Well, I think the citizen complained about a vector nuisance with snakes and things like that as well.
The snakes just showed up.
That's a fire hazard, too.
Yeah, so again, I need Jeff, your office, and Mike's office to get together and find out what we can do about this, because there's just no way this is like designed for this, and they haven't gone through any of the processes. If they wanted to do something for farming, they haven't done any of that either. All right. On another note, I just got an email from someone that told me that EPA has now got standards for PFAS.
Yes, I saw that this morning.
So I think we need to get a report on that for the next board meeting to bring it forward to see what we can go do and start working on that, especially with our FGAs, because I know we have a few levels down there. And I think in Tampa Bay Water, Commissioner Oakley, that we need to make sure we're looking at the two that we have trouble to, if we have standards, we got to figure out how to handle that. Lastly, I am still facing all sorts of panhandling going on. And even the gentleman who we just arrested, one in court with, the one that says, why I need a beer, out there again the other day. I mean, it's just absurd. I have said, you know, when we look at code enforcement officers, we want to like deal with your issues that you may have, et cetera. I'm going to tell you, we've got to do a better job, a more intense job. When we said we're going to bring code people on, we're going to keep them on till dusk to go through, to go look at these panhandlers. And I'm going to tell you, if our code people are out there, people aren't going to donate to these people. It's going to chase them away. We got to go back at this issue again. We got a great ordinance in place, copied from Lee County. They're doing great with it, but we got to have our people out there.
Wasn't it you that showed the sign? I mean, we don't have any signs that say it's illegal. Someone showed a county sign that said panhandling and whatever, you know. They had a street sign.
Ours shouldn't say panhandle.
Well, no, whatever the word is.
But
You cannot transact business in the safety area.
Whatever, we should be putting a sign on those corners.
So let's go put some signs out.
Yeah.
We got all the trouble areas. We know where they are. Let's go put signs out, but I still want bodies. In the sheriff's office, they'll say they're too busy doing other things. I get that. I'm okay with that. This is not a big high crime thing we need to go, but someone needs to go out there with code enforcement to be out there. And I'm not going to say anything more than just being out there is a deterrent to get them away. And when you don't do that, what happens is they keep coming and coming and coming. It's not premier. And we got stuff in place, but I need the resources in my district. I don't care if they look at anything else right now. Let me get my people out there in code just to do that. It's the most important thing I have in my district. And that'll probably slow down the camps that you have because they know they can go. By the way, there's another issue that just came up. There was a church on Old Dixie Highway. And again, I just got this call this afternoon before the break, so I haven't even talked to anybody from staff about this whatsoever. But there's an old church that was at Old Dixie Highway in Hudson Avenue. We've got now, we allowed this for when the church was there to have our showers go out there for the people to go out and take a shower. The church has now left and gone to 5A Road. So there's no church there. They're still giving away food there and conducting business there. I don't think they're permitted to go do all that. So if we could, I'd like to get code out there to go take a look at that right away. And that's all I have.
That's all you got? Okay. Mr. Kabala?
Mr. Chair, actually just really one good news item, you know, as we try to get more grants into the county to leverage tax money that our citizens have already paid into. We had a wonderful event, and I'd like just to have Dr. Bellis come up and speak for maybe 30 seconds to a minute about it, about the federal agency funding workshop we held a few weeks back. Mark.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Have you ever heard me say anything in 30 seconds?
Never.
No, okay. But just a hair more. So yeah, this, you established this about a month and a half ago, so some very big bodies of work are going on that I just want to share with you real quickly here. One is that our vulnerability assessment that has been going on for about a year now is wrapping up, which is going to cover the entire county. I think I mentioned that to you before. It's going to point out areas that we may already think or know are vulnerable, but it's going to point out some blind spots too. And concurrently with that, and we're going to share the results with each of you, concurrently, we are working in our new team to network and create relationships with local, state, and federal agencies and funders. And we've had great meetings already with folks like the Army Corps of Engineers, NOAA. We actually had the ag group from the feds that we talked to the other day, which was kind of a surprise for us. But we're trying to build a good network, good relationships, Part of that was on the 22nd, we did hold an event in cooperation with the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, and we had expected to have a couple of funders come in, a few people attend, and see where we go from there. Well, it turns out it was a pretty good event. We had 109 people show up. We had 16 state and federal funders there, all of them sharing their inside secrets on what they were funding and what they needed from us. We literally put Pasco on the map. During that same time, we were able to hand them 23 project sheets of things that were already going on in the county, because although we're new to this, a lot of folks in the county have been working on this stuff for a long time, really without a lot of support. They now have the ear of these funders, and we're following all of that up. So a real good start for us. It's just the beginning. These two big pieces are going to come together very soon. So all the information we know about what's happening in the county, the information from the vulnerability assessment, and all the relationships we now have with the funders to build an adaptation plan which will prioritize all of the actions and activities we start moving forward to guarantee the future of Pasco County. So that's our update.
Mr.
Thank you
Chairman?
for your support.
Mark,
Yes,
for you?
go ahead.
I want to tell you, at Regional Planning Council, they were raving about how great the meeting was.
Awesome.
Up and down. So it definitely had an effect. At the Restore Council, we had a great meeting. Mr. Thomas is doing a phenomenal job for us.
Yes.
Very excited that he's going to try to do all the leveraging he can as well. And one more thing as far as resiliency goes, you're talking about it. May 9-10, I believe, is the summit for Regional Planning Council for the resiliency. I will tell you, I looked at the agenda. There's a few really good things on there. There's a few things that kind of I'm not crazy about, and we'll deal with those things down the road. But it is the summit that's coming up there for resiliency. If you can make it, it would be real good. And one thing with the Regional Planning Council too, we had our audit done. You know, the executive director resigned a little bit ago. Nothing was found out of the ordinary. It just kind of he did need to go from his own family reasons, et cetera. So there was nothing found. The audit's done. Everything's clean. Everything's in good shape down there.
Great partnership with them. Cool. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
The only other item, sir, I would just like to add is a shout out to Kathy Pearson's Senior Services Group. They were recognized by Congressman Gus Bilirakis' office with the 2024 Heroes Among Us Award for taking over a number of programs that affected up to 400 of our vulnerable seniors. So just a shout out to them for the great body of work that they do for our seniors day in and day out. That's all I have.
Very good. Yes, sir. All right. Mr. Steinsteiner? Oh, wait, you've got something?
I have something. Though you don't necessarily have to act on it today. On this morning's consent agenda, you approved revised procedural rules, which added the second vice chair to your rules. That second vice chair can be appointed or can be voted on at any given board meeting.
Okay.
Any interest?
Sure.
Sure.
So it's a tie between both of you with interest? All right, y'all rock, paper, scissors.
You want to?
I'll nominate Commissioner Starkey.
All right, nominate Commissioner Starkey. I'll second Commissioner Mariano for Commissioner Starkey for second.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So I got a motion and a second for Commissioner Starkey to be second vice president or vice chairman.
Chair, second vice president.
Yeah, whatever that is. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed 4-0. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. You got a
Oh,
little time.
thank you. Just remember for the May meeting, no one can get sick.
Why is that?
Move to reconsider.
Because I'll
You
be.
can't be out. You now can't be out.
Mr. Steinsteiner, so I'm going to the NACO Board of Directors meeting.
Yes.
If you need me to zoom in, what are the rules on that? Or do we need to take care of that now, if we needed me?
Well, would
Just
that
so
be
we don't have
everything
what
by
happened
roll call,
before.
right?
The rules are that you have to be unavailable, and that's the legislative decision of the board. If you needed, I think it's fair if you could, well, the problem is, when you get to the point where you don't have a quorum physically present, you can't have video you can't have a
You can't-
remote,
you don't
a
have a
remote
meeting.
person. So
Right.
at the point where that would be a problem, we couldn't.
We couldn't solve it
We
anyway?
couldn't solve it that way anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, we couldn't have a meeting at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry,
That's the problem when
that's
we're down
the,
one. Yeah.
that's there has to be a physical quorum present to do the remote attendance.
Is this someone's eclipse photo?
I'm bringing that up, but I was waiting to see
That's
if
it.
the clerk had anything
I
to say
do,
yet.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I have good news. You know, every year, we go through a comprehensive financial audit. We have a firm, CRI, that goes through it and audits all of our financials, and I wanted to let you know that, well, every year we create a comprehensive, or annual comprehensive financial report, and we submit it to the Government Officers Finance Association, GFOA, and we have won the Excellence in Financial Reporting for fiscal year ended in 2022, and that is the 40th consecutive year of Excellence in Financial Reporting. So congratulations goes out to your team. All of your departments work with my financial department as well, so big congratulations to my financial department as well. And I wanted to give a shout out to Jessica Blesser on your team. She really did a lot of heavy lifting, and she's pretty amazing. So thank you to Jessica and Matt Lazar from my team, and Richard Van Steen from my team as well. They worked really well together. We had great collaboration, and yesterday we just submitted to GFOA the fiscal year ended 23 financial report, so we hope to make it 41 consecutive years in the near future.
Yep, sounds great.
But
I
congratulations.
have Clark Hobby and the Heinz folks waiting on me, so I'll listen to you as I'm
So?
walking back there.
Hey, so?
Don't think I'm walking out on you, but I'm walking out on
Yeah, I know you are. We still got a quorum. We'll take care of some things in your district
vote
while
something
you're,
to vote?
in your district while you're gone. We'll take care of it.
I'm just walking over there.
Okay,
I'm not sure where they are.
we're good.
That was for
You'll see the solar eclipse for those of you that didn't drive to Missouri and couldn't see that. My assistant did, and her husband did drive to Missouri, and they came back and arrived back home on Tuesday morning around 7:30 in the morning to get back here to work. So, but she actually, her and her husband went out there. They thought they'd rather see that one. They couldn't believe they'd wait 200 more years and wouldn't be able to see, so. Yeah, there you go. Pretty interesting. But I have a couple of things. One of them concerns me, and I guess to me it's in Ralph's area, is the fact that when we have local independent businesses reaching out through consultants that work with us and other people, and they're doing that in Pasco County, we get credited for money that they get that we really don't get, and it knocks out because they've given us that for an independent developer has gotten this money, and they count that as going to Pasco. So when we're asking for things we really want to ask for, we're not asking for that item. Sometimes we get knocked out of our items based on the fact that an independent business is asking for the same kind of monies from the state, which I don't think that's right. They should get that money anyway. That's my opinion. But I didn't know if y'all realize that or not, but we're getting accredited for those asked, even though they weren't asked by our board. So we need to, somehow we need to work with that. Because when it goes to Tallahassee, they think it's Pasco County asking for it. And it's not Pasco County asking at all. Now, the monies come back and go into Pasco? Yeah, but they go into a private developer or firm. Yeah, Mariana.
Mr. Maybe we need to put in, when we do put our asks in, that we put in, these are the things we're asking for. We're not asking for anything else that's not on this list, just to be clear.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think that's probably something we can address through our next legislative workshop.
And
on
as
how
we
want
come
to,
into that, yes.
And whether we can bring folks to the table earlier, because some of these items that come forward, you know, they could have a public benefit that maybe we want to explore. May not be the board's priorities, but could be a priority for the citizens. So I think we should discuss that and how we want to approach that. So I think that's fair.
And legislators, they don't realize it. They just think that's a Pasco County ask. They don't know the difference, so, you know, not being told that. So it's something I think we need to look out for and just watch, and I've made Ralph aware of it too, so. And then another thing I've had was the fact that in some issues that's happening with our planning commission, I've noticed that sometimes they're making statements toward policy, which this board has already set aside our policies that we want to move forward, that we want to happen for our citizens. But it seems like some members of the planning commission are acting like they're policymakers, and they're not. So maybe in satisfying some of that is, and David Engel, maybe you step up to the podium, maybe, and I don't know whose responsibility that is of the planning commission, but maybe they need to be retrained of what their duties really are, because it seems like they're stepping. I heard one time, and this is several months back, that one planning commission decided he wasn't sure he wanted to vote on this particular development because he wasn't sure he had heard Zephyr Hills didn't have water, and he figured we didn't have water anymore, and he couldn't put that many homes on a piece of land not knowing if we had water or not. Well, we have water. That's not our issue. So we have plenty of water. So what do you think,
Well, Mr.
David?
Chairman, we have had a workshop in the past to educate the Planning Commission with their role and Robert's rules and their duties. I also feel that there's a desire amongst the Planning Commission to consult the board regarding planning items. And I've approached the chair about establishing quarterly workshops so they can have discussions and make recommendations to the board of commissioners.
Well, I think that would be good because I mean, some of them just kind of get out of place when they're not doing what we're asking them to do for us. And I appreciate all they do because they don't get paid for that job, and they're tied up in meetings kind of like we are at times, but they don't get paid for it. So
there's a lot of knowledge.
Their time's very important
too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's my take is we've got some engineers on there, some pretty skilled people on there that I think I've listened to several planning commission meetings with different things, but if they're firing off what the ordinances in place, et cetera, that's good. If they're fighting what maybe staff's policy changes are to be, and they're implementing those and they're pushing back on that, I don't mind having a debate on it. You know, if they're saying like, you know, like today we approved one for 1.9, had a lot of walkability, we kind of went through it. That's why I let it go, because I don't like those either. I want to see at least 2 or better. But I want to give them the freedom to go look at the code, and we got a county attorney sits in that office, in that room when it's going on. If they're out of line, he can call them out. But I haven't seen any issues like that would quarterly meetings, and I think we all have enough meetings to go to.
Now,
anyway.
don't get me wrong, we have some smart individuals on the planning board. We're very lucky to have those individuals there. I appreciate that. But the fact of it is, when they kind of leave what their role is to possibly trying to make policy, then I think they're going too far.
I think that's the attorney's office at that meeting to call it out for specifics, unless you get some specifics you want to bring up. I think I mean, David's as sharp as can be. If he sees something, I've seen him do it. He's jumped over the top of them planning commissioners sometimes.
I'm well aware of that.
Right, David? So, I mean, I don't see any need for.
If asked, that's right. If he gets asked, then he steps in.
Yeah.
So, but I've just noticed some lately that kind of concerns me a little bit. Anything to say, Mr. Steinsetter?
Well, it's a fine line for us. We're not really there to chastise the planning commission. I know David has, in the fact, reminded them that there has been board direction on something that they were going in a different direction on. And to a certain extent, their role is clearly not policy in developments. Their role is is to make you a recommendation on policy for when the code and the comp plan. So that, without knowing the specifics, I can't say they've stepped over, they haven't stepped over, but that, you know, between the county attorney's office and the planning director, we should be able to get the planning commission to stay in their lane.
And I think with the chairman and you yourself, Mr. County Attorney, you should have a discussion and kind of delve into it further. You think you bring it back, bring it back.
Yeah. And, I mean, it hadn't come to the point they've changed policy, but their staff knows our policy. So I guess if it's riding on the edge to moving away from what our policy is, then it needs to be spoke to. So, and we don't do that. We're not there to do that. So, and other than that planning commission is, we're adding a new member too, which would be very good for that group to move forward. So they do a good job.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right. With that, other than my little dog turning 2 yesterday, I think that's all I've got. So we will be adjourned.